Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
Yes, hello, good evening. Here are tonight's main stories.
Parents and support staff call for a radical overhaul of special educational needs provision in Leeds, as they claim the system is in crisis.
Former Huddersfield footballer Marcus Stewart opens up about his shock MND diagnosis and his battle with the disease.
Plans to crack down on the drivers who hog the middle lane on the motorway.
I'm at the Shea Stadium in Halifax, where tonight Chesterfield could win promotion back to the Football League after a 6-year absence.
And find out why Leeds Children's Hospital received a special visit from royalty. Thanks very much for joining us. First tonight, to the ongoing fight by parents and teachers of children with special educational needs for more funding and a radical overhaul of a system that they say is failing those who need it the most.
Yes, campaigners today in Leeds urged the City Council to back their calls for improvements across the board, from staff wages and conditions to waiting times for assessments and new facilities. They say children in Leeds are receiving less funding per head than in the rest of the country, and SEND services are in crisis. Lisa Adlam reports.
For much of her children's young lives, Sandeep Baines has been fighting to get the support and education they need. Daughter Nina isn't yet 3, but has been diagnosed with autism, and Sandeep knows only too well the struggle that lies ahead. Her son Kavi, who is non-speaking and has high needs, will only start at his specialist school in Leeds in September at the age of 7. Like many families, they believe the system is no longer fit for purpose.
We want the education system to change, especially for our SEND children. It needs to be an education system that suits all children's needs. And at the moment, that isn't happening. It makes me so angry because they're spending the money in the wrong places when they could be spending it building new provisions, or even making mainstreams more suitable, training staff up correctly to help SEND children.
What do we want?
That was just part of the message campaigners were sending to councillors in Leeds today. Sandeep joined their rally to call for root and branch change, from better pay and training for specialist staff to reduced waiting times for education, health and care plans, or EHCPs, and new and improved facilities for their children.
We want to see more SEND schools being built, because we have too many SEND pupils in mainstream settings. Those schools can't cope. The SEND schools as well, they're at capacity as well. So we need to see more schools being built. And no money, and they'll spend the money better, not acceptable. There is a SEND crisis. We want to see the government address it.
I really hope that they start to listen to the people that actually live this every single day. The parents, the TAs, the teachers who are not getting paid enough, who don't have the right education, who are struggling.
The council's deputy leader, who is also executive member for education, says the authority is listening, but he accused the government of turning a deaf ear to their bids for more funding, leaving SEN children in the city worse off than their counterparts elsewhere.
At the moment in Leeds, a child with SEND is funded less per head than a child with SEND elsewhere in the UK. It's a disgraceful situation. I've written to every single Secretary of State for Education about this, the past 7, because they keep changing them. I've written to the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and the government are just refusing to listen and refusing to acknowledge this.
A spokesman for the Department of Education said today it had opened 108 special free schools and launched a £70 million programme benefiting all regions in England. They said high needs funding would also increase to more than £10.5 billion by next year.
You make my life complete. Heart.
But Sandeep and countless other families believe they will still have to battle to get their children the education that should be their right. Lisa Adlam, ITV News, Leeds.
Our other main story this evening, and the man accused of masterminding an armed robbery in which a police officer was shot and killed, has described the scene when the men who carried out the raid returned to their safe house. Piran Ditta Khan is the last of 7 men to face trial over the killing of PC Sharon Beshenivsky almost 2 decades ago.
He told Leeds Crown Court today that the gang were panicking, shouting and screaming because they'd done something wrong. Katie Oscroft has been in court today. Good evening, Katie. What more was said about the aftermath of the shooting then?
Well, Lara, Pirandita Khan was asked in detail about those dramatic moments after the shooting in Bradford. Remember, he's 75 years old now. He was extradited from Pakistan last year, where he went soon after this happened. But from the witness box today, he said that everyone had gone back to a house in Leeds where they were tense, stressed out and angry. Khan said there were no celebrations, drinks or dance parties because people had died. In fact, by then, PC Sharon Beshanivsky had lost her life, shot at point-blank range. A colleague that day was seriously injured in hospital.
And what did the defendant say in court today about the robbery?
Well, Pirandita Khan said it was only after the crime had been committed that he had any idea that any of the men would resort to violence or had guns. They'd all gone to Universal Express travel agents in Bradford to get back money he was owed. But he said he didn't even know who was going to recover his debt, even though he and the other 6 men travelled from Bradford in convoy and left the scene soon after shots were fired. Well, prosecutor Robert Smith QC said to Khan, you had organised all these events, you arranged where the cars were to be parked, what was to be done and what was to be gained. Pirandita Khan replied, no, it wasn't my planning, it must be their planning. He admits robbery, he says, because it was all about his money, but he denies murder and firearms offences, and this trial will continue in the morning. Pirandita Khan will return once again to the witness box.
Katie Oscroft, thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us for Wednesday night's calendar with Lara and Ian. And still to come on the programme tonight, the frustration of so-called middle lane hoggers and what's being done to crack down on them.
What a difference a day makes. Today's weather not as nice as yesterday's, but will tomorrow's be nicer than today's? I'll have your full forecast.
Carrie, but first, plans to house more than 600 asylum seekers in former student accommodation in Huddersfield from this May will cost more than using hotels. That's according to the National Audit Office. Now, in a report out today, the NAO say it will cost £358 million over the next 10 years for the Huddersfield project. Now, initially, the government thought that the Huddersfield scheme would be cheaper than using hotels, but the latest estimates suggest that it and 3 other sites would cost £46 million more. Kirklees Council, which has raised several concerns about the project, said the report was a damning indictment of the government's handling of asylum across the country.
And we stay in Kirklees for our next story, because car parking charges in places like Huddersfield, Holmfirth and Dewsbury are going to go up significantly. Long stay parking across the Kirklees borough will rise from £4 to £6.50 all day, while short stay parking in Huddersfield will cost you £1.10 for an hour. That's up from 70p.
Now, Marcus Stewart, well, he earned himself a legendary status at Huddersfield Town, didn't he? He had a 4-year stay in the West Yorkshire town in the late 90s and was extremely well known for scoring loads and loads of goals.
And much loved too. He was a tenacious striker, of course, that loved a battle with defenders. But now the 51-year-old is facing an altogether, well, different battle.
Yes, because 2 years ago, Marcus was diagnosed with motor neurone disease, which currently has no cure. Arif Ahmed has been to meet him.
Everything's just a bit slower, you know, so I live a good life, but I don't live a normal one.
It was during lockdown that Marcus Stewart's life changed forever. It was whilst doing home workouts that he realised his left arm was struggling to cope. Routine pull-up exercises became impossible. Seeking to find out why his arm was fatiguing so quickly led him to a neurologist, who told Marcus he had motor neuron disease.
I was as shocked as kind of anyone would be, because I didn't expect that to happen, or I didn't expect that answer. And that was it, really. It was just, it was give me a leaflet, and off I went. And I went on my own because I just said to my wife, I don't need you here, really. I can deal with this, not expecting it to be M&D.
Marcus can no longer use his left hand and is beginning to feel the effects in his right. He does though feel he's one of the lucky ones, with his symptoms presenting more slowly than in others.
I love playing golf. I can't play golf. I can't do my shoelaces up. I can't do my buttons up. I can do my buttons up, but really slowly. My right hand takes ages. Yeah, I can pick things up with my right hand, and I can hug things with this hand, with this arm. But I can't pick something up. I can't. That phone now. There's no chance I can pick that up, but I can do it with this hand.
In his prime, Marcus was one of Huddersfield Town's greatest strikers.
And Stewart goes instinctively for goal! It's a wonderful goal too!
A popular teammate within the dressing room, he received over 2,000 messages after going public with his diagnosis. Now the 51-year-old has joined a new band of brothers.
I've got a new set of teammates in the MND community, you know, and Rob, Kev, Stephen Darby are up there being captain, manager, and leading the way. So these are my new set of teammates now. Not new set. I've got a different set of teammates, but the old ones are still supporting me, which I love.
To raise money and awareness of MND, Marcus and Stephen Darby, who also has the nerve degenerative condition, will set off from Valley Parade in Bradford on Friday for a 175-mile walking challenge. Flanked by a group of former teammates, they'll visit 17 stadiums along the way before finishing at Anfield in Liverpool on Sunday.
I think we're getting closer and closer to a cure or some sort of treatment that's going to extend life by decades, not months. So it'd be nice for the football community to show their support in some sort of way. And I think there's over 600-700 walkers across the 175 miles. So it'd be great. Give us a beat. We'll have the flags out and stuff like that. So it'd be great just for the football community up here to show support.
Great to hear Marcus Stewart talking to Arif Ahmed there at the end of that story. And you can see more about Marcus's story and the rest of the day's news on our website. It's itv.com/calendar. That's itv.com/calendar. Now then, nearly 2/3 of women working in the construction industry are wearing personal protective equipment, otherwise known as PPE, which is designed for men, according to recent figures.
Well, you can imagine the problem, can't you? You know, the safety can be compromised on building sites because of things like ill-fitting boots, trousers, jackets, and that all increases the risk of injury.
So there's now an industry-wide campaign for the government to change current PPE rules to make them much more inclusive. Amrit Birdie reports.
There are strict rules around safety on construction sites, and for good reason. But despite women now making up around 14% of all construction workers in the UK, some women in the industry, like Kathy Cockin from Halifax, say there are serious challenges when it comes to finding protective workwear.
When I initially retrained and started working, it would be really hard to find gloves that were small enough. A lot of places only stock like really big sizes or men's sizes. But now I've got like the certain brands and ranges that I use. I've got like those kind of in my back pocket, but it is really difficult to find it in the first place.
The National Association of Women in Construction found almost 60% of women are having to wear PPE that's designed for men. Women in Construction ambassador Michaela Wayne says despite some progress, it's still really hard to get hold of.
Currently, sourcing it, you're looking at a 6-week wait, and it's double and even triple the price of men's fitting PPE. And this isn't an issue of, oh, we want to be comfortable. It's a problem with health and safety. For instance, if a woman is wearing the need for a harness on site and that's not fitting appropriately, then this is a serious risk for health and safety.
And it just feels better as well.
Leading the campaign to address this inequality is Katie Robinson, who showed me exactly why men's PPE just doesn't cut it on site.
So you can see that they're quite long kind of in the leg, very baggy around the calves, whereas when you get to the top, like basically skin tight here in the thighs, and I can't even fasten them up. If we look at the coat, it's just generally oversized, too long. The arms are far too long. So yeah, this would make work very difficult out on site. Kind of shorter in length. It's really important that we do kind of kit women out with inclusive PPE, because it's not just health and safety. Health and safety is the main part, obviously, but actually providing well-fitting PPE can be quite a big message to the women of the industry, saying that you are welcomed, you are valued. and this is how we're going to show you. We're going to give you PPE that fits, PPE that's safe, and things like that.
In the coming weeks, a letter on behalf of the whole industry will be sent to the government, calling for a change in PPE rules, a change that could help women in more ways than one. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
It's really going to make a difference, isn't it, if their clothes can actually fit?
I never thought it was an issue, but of course, obviously it is. And what a problem, wearing clothes that don't fit you when you're working on a building site.
Well,
it's very dangerous.
It'll put women off working in the construction industry, won't it?
Well, let's hope something's done about it, definitely. Now then, good evening to Kerry. How
Hello,
are you doing?
you too. I'm good. How are you both?
Yeah, fine, thanks.
First day of spring. It was lovely and spring-like out there today, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't really, was it? It was a bit drizzly.
What a difference. It was like going on yesterday about how gorgeous it was. This was along the North Yorkshire coastline first thing this morning. Yesterday, of course, sorry, where it felt warm, it was sunny, you could feel the sun on your skin when it was out, and this was the same place today. So a big thank you for the compare and contrast from Angie. But yeah, really dismal start, basically a weather front coming from northwest to southeast and kind of sitting over us today and pepping up a little bit. So really quite disappointing. It looks a little bit better as we head into tomorrow. Now, it's not just the first day of the astronomical spring today, it's the International Day of Happiness, where we're supposed to celebrate being happy.
So I knew that, because you were
it
extra happy.
I'm always happy. You can't order it up, I say, but if you've got PMA, positive mental attitude, I think it helps. Now, you've had a couple of really nice days in the sunshine, haven't you, Ian?
I have actually, yes.
And you've got a spring garden, haven't you, Ian?
I have a spring garden and we've been clearing out the pond and look who we found.
Ian's hand with a toad. How about that?
He's a big old toad,
That's
isn't he?
definitely a sign of spring. I'm not sure.
He's wearing your dress.
I'm not sure toads make me happy. I'm a bit like squirmy with a toad, but it's the birds, especially the bird song. So big thank you for everybody who's been sending in the birds. This is obviously a blue tit that can see its own reflection. It was very inquisitive there, Rob Savage says. This, do you know what this one is?
A yellow something?
No, it's not a yellow something. It's a willow warbler, about the same size as a blue tit. Absolutely gorgeous. Big thank you to Roy Briggs. He caught that one yesterday. What about this one?
It's got to be a sparrow.
This is a reed bunting.
Oh.
Yeah. Of course I know all this. None of you have told me when you sent in the photographs, of course. We all know this one, don't we?
That's a kingfisher.
Yes, it is a kingfisher. And last but no means least, it's getting colder towards the end of the week. All the detail a little later on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now then, it's probably something we've all been guilty of at some point when we've been out driving, hogging the middle lane on a motorway. But did you know it's actually an offence?
Apparently so, yes. A study commissioned by the National Highways, well, it claims that around a third of motorists admit to cruising in the middle lane. Have you ever done that?
Well, I think we probably all have, haven't we?
Quite possibly, yes. While 2/3 say that regularly they witness other vehicles coming right up behind them. I hate that when that happens.
I know, and actually the consequence can be more crashes and longer traffic jams. Nick Smith has been investigating.
Keep left unless overtaking is a mantra we all learn in the highway code, but these drivers chose to ignore it and were met with fines and points. Our motorways and A roads are busy spaces where consideration for others is paramount. But motorists we spoke to with tip shelf services on the M1 in North East Derbyshire say they do come across bad habits like lane hogging.
What's up with following the rules? You need to be in the inner lane, right? And if you're overtaking, overtake, then move back.
It gets really on my goat. I can't express how angry it makes me, really.
Roughly a third of drivers admit to occasionally lane hogging, according to a recent survey, and 1 in 10 say they do so frequently. It can cause congestion. Overtaking a car keeping left uses just 50% of the carriageway on this 4-lane motorway. But if a car decides to hog one of the middle lanes, drivers must cross all of them to move past, using 100% of the road capacity, and traffic starts to build up.
You'll see other drivers getting frustrated, perhaps flashing the lights. I think we've all seen that from time to time. It may cause other drivers to manoeuvre around that vehicle, and again that will make other vehicles slow down, brake heavily, and it can cause accidents. Here's an example, the car that's about to pass us now, he's been in that lane with nothing else around him for the last 30 seconds.
National Highways Officer Clark tells me on patrols like this, in recent years, he's seen driver behaviour start to lapse. often due to a lack of awareness of other road users.
I've heard reasons, people feel safer sat in the middle lane. They didn't know that perhaps they should be on the left-hand lane, not understanding the risks, not understanding the problems that can happen around them.
Tailgating and undertaking are the more sinister cousins of lane hogging. This BMW driver was given 7 points when he let his frustrations get the better of him.
7 out of 10 drivers, so about 3/4 of the drivers, all said that tailgating is a serious problem. And I suppose the disappointing figure for me is that young drivers feel bullied out on the network. And actually for the two offences, tailgating and middle lane hogging, and a lot of people don't know this, it came out in the survey, the police can hand you a £100 fine and also the points on your licence as well.
As drivers, we all develop our own habits, but when those habits become inconsiderate, it puts others at risk. And those tasked with keeping our major routes safe say that by reminding people that our roads are shared spaces, it can help all of us keep our journeys smoother. Nick Smith, ITV News.
There we go, so now we know, don't we? No
We
hogging.
certainly do.
No
Absolutely.
hogging. Well, it's time for the sport now, and the wait is almost over for fans of Chesterfield Football Club. The Spireites need just a single point for their remaining 7 matches this season to clinch the National League title.
Yes, of course. And with that, they would secure promotion back to the Football League after a 6-year absence. Well, tonight, Chesterfield will take on Halifax at the Shea, and Chris Dawkes is there for us. And Chris, it could be an historic night for the Spireites, couldn't it?
Yes, Ian, it really could, couldn't it? But did you know that there was some doubt not too long ago whether this game would even go ahead tonight? You wouldn't believe it now the sun's out, but we've had pretty much incessant rain in this part of the Calder Valley pretty much all day until around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock this afternoon. There was a pitch inspection on this pitch behind me around 3:30. The referee had a look around and deemed it playable, so game on. And this is the situation for Chesterfield tonight. All they need is one solitary point from their last 7 games to clinch the National League title and thus win promotion back to the Football League. They're going to be cheered on by upwards of 2,500 fans in this stadium, the majority in that terrace in front of me you can see now, some also in that stand to my left. There'll also maybe be some in the stand to my right as well, depending on how many decide to make the trip up from North Derbyshire to hopefully see Chesterfield clinch promotion. They could have done it at the weekend. They could have done it last night had Barnet not beaten Eastleigh. They did. Around 250 fans watched that game in the lounges at the SMH Group Stadium last night, and pretty much all of them after that game agreed they hope tonight here at the Shea will be third time lucky.
We're just waiting for that ultimate moment now, and I think tomorrow is going to be the night now.
It's not a case of if, it's just when.
We were hoping we could have gone up today, but we couldn't.
It's been a brilliant year, and it's either tomorrow or Saturday, and hopefully job done.
It is starting to feel as if, you know what, let's get it done. But overall, it's been a fantastic season. You know, over 20 points clear in the league. Well, every club in the country would swap places with us, being 20 points clear at the top of their league. And we'll have a fantastic support, as always, at Halifax.
Well, let's not forget the other team involved here in this game tonight, FC Halifax Time. A win for them would not only spoil Chesterfield's party, it would also put them into the playoff spot. So plenty at stake here at the Shea tonight, unlike it would seem at Valley Parade. Boos rang round that stadium last night after Bradford City fell to their 3rd straight home defeat, 3-0 to Notts County, effectively killing off any hope of a late League Two playoff push. OK, on to the rest of the day's sport now, and planning permission has been submitted for a new multi-purpose sports stadium in Sheffield. If granted, the 5,000 capacity community stadium will be home to Sheffield FC, the world's oldest football club, and the Sheffield Eagles Rugby League Club. The site in Meadowhead will also include a cricket pavilion, indoor sports hall and a football museum. Well, we could be celebrating 2 champions on calendar tomorrow, couldn't we? Because the Sheffield Steelers could be named the Elite League Ice Hockey champions tonight if they win in Cardiff a week after winning the Challenge Cup. If they do win in Cardiff tonight, it'll be a first league title since 2016. So it could be a good night for us tonight. It could be a good day for us tomorrow to celebrate both Chesterfield and the Steelers winning their respective titles.
Definitely a good night for you tonight, Chris. Thanks very much indeed. Live at the Shea.
Excellent. Well, let's hope that the weather's going to be good as well.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Should we get the latest with Kerry?
Here she is.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. Yes, it wasn't cold today, but it was definitely unsettled with cloudy skies, showers or longer spells of rain. But spring continues to show its colours, and signs of spring over the next few days will continue. I guess weather photos at itv.com, even though fairly grey skies expected tomorrow, we're hoping it will be a little bit drier and brighter. This was the scene today. Cloudy skies, outbreaks of rain sinking south and eastwards. The window of clear weather is coming through overnight before again thicker cloud, outbreaks of rain and stronger winds nudging from the northwest by the end of tomorrow. So in a little bit more detail for this evening and overnight tonight, we lose most of the clouds. So for tonight it's dry with long clear spells, but there's still quite a bit of moisture in the air expected after the rain, and therefore we could see a little bit of mist and murk towards the early hours. Temperatures are colder than last night, nothing too chilly, but down into the mid to low single figures in rural spots by the time we reach dawn. So a fresher start tomorrow compared to this morning, but maybe with some drier and brighter weather to come. 6:05 and 6:23 are your sun times. Bit of mist and murk over the Pennines first thing. Eastern parts getting the best of the clear spells initially. Then there's a weak system pushing through quite quickly. Maybe one or two showers for late morning, middle part of the day, and then into the afternoon. It's dry, bright, blustery, but milder. But we do look to the northwest, and it's this system coming through tomorrow evening and tomorrow night that will introduce that much colder air as we head into Friday and Saturday. So towards the weekend, sunshine and showers. It will feel colder with that stronger wind with some overnight frosts too.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
It's good to see that there are signs of spring. Seeing your toad, what else is in your garden then, Kerry?
Well, apart from the birds, a lot of green. It needs a lot of TLC.
Oh, the algae. Yeah, it's bad, isn't it?
Needs a good old hose down, yeah.
Oh, good. Getting ready for spring though.
We're nearly there.
Isn't it? That's it from us. Have a very good evening. We'll see you again tomorrow night at 6.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.